All right, it's a gift that keeps on giving.
Uh-oh.
The nickel and dime. They're not even a liquor store. They're like the 99-cent store or the Dollar Tree. That scam the Dollar Tree's pulling where now everything's $1.25. It's a real pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Like, talk about misleading representation of what your title is. But nonetheless, the Cincinnati Bengals are back, folks. The Bengals are letting Trey Hendrickson, that guy that just led the league in sacks, they're letting him seek a trade as they've been unable to close ground on a new deal. He's set to earn just under $16 million this upcoming season, and he released a statement to ESPN's Adam Schefter from Hendrickson, quote, "It's been an honor and a privilege to represent Cincinnati over the last 4 years. I love this city and organization. I appreciate the privilege of now being allowed to explore my options." Now, based on the Matthew Stafford stuff that just took place, this doesn't mean that the door is closed, but it's just another example of, I don't know, feels like there were avenues or ways to try and be able to make this work with everybody, and yet for some reason now the Bengals are letting him go and seek what else is out there, and Trey Hendrickson could be on his way out of Cincy.
It seems like they're playing a game of roulette, real-life roulette, right? Like, it's let them go out and test the market, and if somebody comes back with something that is reasonable, then you try to, match that. Say, here's what your established market is. We just saw this play out with Matthew Stafford. See what the market says, see how people feel about it, and then you make your decision from there. I think maybe the biggest piece of this is not so much that they're cheap, which that obviously might be the conclusion that is the easiest conclusion to come to, but they're also maybe doing business in this scenario where you want to keep them and you've made it a point to keep them. And, we've heard everything that Joe Burrow has had to say about not making it a habit of letting your best players get away. It would be a tremendous loss, a tremendous hole left in this Cincinnati team, not just the defensive unit, but in the team, losing a guy like Hendrickson. So I think what they're doing is they're trying to figure out how should they value Hendrickson. So it's interesting because this comes a day removed from Max Crosby getting the deal that he received. And I would ask the question, because when I saw this report, Jonas, the question I came up with is they're looking to see what Hendrickson's value is on the trade block. And you just saw or you have an idea of what Max Crosby's going to get. Is that Hendrickson saying, I want just as much as Max Crosby, if not more, and is it warranted for him to receive that?
I mean, based on last year, based on the last couple of years, yeah. The only thing, look, Hendrickson is 30 years old, and so I can understand, well, you're at that point to where do you really want to give a 30-year-old this X amount of dollars, et cetera? It feels like
a 30-year-old that's your best player.
Yeah, on
defense.
And then what's interesting about this is that so they've tagged T. Higgins. Reportedly, teams have called about wanting to acquire T. Higgins. They've already let everybody know, hey, we're going to get Jamar Chase done. He's priority A. I would have just assumed if you couldn't keep all three, you'd at least want to play to both sides of the ball. Like, look, T. Higgins is a fine player, but we trust that we would be able to get somebody maybe not as good, but somebody who could be productive alongside Jamar Chase if Jamar Chase is still the guy and we're paying him that way. But it's more difficult to find somebody to replace Trey Hendrickson's production. And instead, it's like they knocked out, they're taking care of the two offensive players, and they're kind of letting Hendrickson go and hey, we'll figure it out from there. It's kind of a weird way that they've done this. And then on top of that, when Joe Burrow comes out and he's talking to, pardon my take, and he says, yeah, listen, I don't know a lot about the salary cap, but it feels like the Eagles have been able to figure this out. And then Warren Sharp goes on social media yesterday and points out that the Bengals and Eagles have both signed their quarterbacks to extensions in 2023. Since then, one Bengal was re-signed to a contract over $40 million. That was Logan Wilson. And 8 Eagles were re-signed to contracts over $40 million. So Philly has figured this out, and yet Cincinnati just kind of, no, we're doing it the same old way, same old style, same old everything. And this has been brought up before. It is the same organization that kind of burned a bridge with Carson Palmer. You work with TJ Houshmandzadeh. He's told stories about, the how cheap they are and the things that were going on there. I don't know if it's that bad. Clearly things have improved, but it does feel like they're still stuck in the old ways when the rest of the league has figured out how to make this all work and make all your guys happy.
I'm not going to say the rest of the league, Jonas, but what you're saying has a lot of accuracy to it and a lot of validity. But I don't think that it's a matter of they're stuck in their old ways. I think that they've created a business model, and because they feel as though, just my estimation, that they have a success within their business model, you stay disciplined to what your business model is. Even if that means upsetting the consumer, even if that means losing a star employee. I mean, when you really think about it, are the star employees of Fox Sports Radio us, the talent, or would you think that corporate would value that in between, that cartilage in between talent and the owners of, the higher ups of the company, right? Your superstars are somewhere in the cartilage. Somebody who is choosing the talent, somebody who is making sure the books are balanced, somebody who is making sure the HR situations are solid. Those are the employees that you would say you value the most, because you're trusting that cartilage in between to be the buffer and to be the cushion that makes things better and makes things right on the lower part, right? So yeah, it's like you look at the talent, it's like they're not choosing the talent. They bring somebody in that chooses the talent. They are the most valued. Now, when you think about it, are they getting paid as much as the talent gets? If you look at the money that talent gets, you'd say, well, you got to argue that and say you differ in that opinion, which some people may differ in the opinion of saying the talent is the superstar employee and they're the most important employee because that's the product. That's the end result of what it is that you're doing. But in business terms, that's not always the case. And so just like in what I just used in entertainment as an example, in football, it looks as though the Cincinnati Bengals value other employees, other parts and aspects of their business more than what they value in the talent that they put on the field, which is the end product of what it is that you're doing. And that's why they're able to let a Carson Palmer go, or that's why they're able to look at a T. Higgins that could play a major role in this team being a legitimate Super Bowl contender. We've seen it happen. Or looking at a Hendrickson and seeing how he plays a major part in a defense that really struggled for the most part of the year. Yeah. You're willing to let go of the biggest piece of a defense that needs revamping, and that's one part that you don't need revamping on. You're staying strict and you're staying disciplined to what you believe is the business model of how you do it, regardless of if it's a business model that doesn't yield the type of return in regards to winning a Super Bowl. It's not what this clearly says is winning a Super Bowl is not the most important thing to the Cincinnati Bengals. No matter how you fall or what you may think or what my opinion how it may have hit you, you got to say ultimately, no matter how you get to the conclusion, Jonas, the conclusion is the Cincinnati Bengals do not value the end result being a Super Bowl more than other things that they value business-wise within that organization.
That's wild, man.